Peace, family. Welcome to another episode of Broken Theory. Today we got the homie TG-18, the Spaceman. What's good?
What's going on, my dude? How you doing?
I appreciate you, brother. Yeah, I'm just locking in with you, you know what I'm saying, to talk about your music journey. See how you first got started into making beats. At what age did you start getting curious about music?
Finesse, baby.
Man, I first and foremost, man, like I said, I appreciate the opportunity to share my story. Making music, it actually didn't start until 2.5 years ago, to be honest with you.
Wow.
I got into making music. It started as a coping mechanism, dealing with the passing of my grandma.
Wow. I'm sorry to hear that.
I appreciate it. And for those who don't know, I'm a first responder, and I was there when she transitioned. So it started as a coping mechanism, and it started with an iPad, and I had got me a old beat machine from Amazon, and I kind of just started teaching myself how to make beats from scratch, and it kind of started right there.
So when you were messing around on the iPad, what were some of the apps and tools that you were using? So just for those people out there that's just getting started, don't know how, don't know where.
When it came to my iPad, the very first thing I used was GarageBand.
Okay.
So I started with GarageBand, and at the time, it was all brand new to me, and it was just a bit overwhelming. But for a lot of like anybody that's beginning to make beats, GarageBand is so simple to where it gives you the tools to learn how to construct your music. Mm-hmm. So that's where it started for me.
Nah, it's dope. I honestly like started on Pro Tools when I had first picked it up and started doing this by myself. But when I got serious with it, I started doing vocals on Logic, which is an extension of GarageBand. But I started on GarageBand first and then bought Logic because I was just getting serious about it. But yeah, definitely a real good tool.
Most definitely. And I'll be honest, and it's kind of interesting that you did say that, because ironically now I use Logic. So it's kind of like a full circle moment, if you will. Like when I first started, I started with GarageBand, and then I graduated up to Logic. So it kind of, and the one thing I always appreciate about Logic is the fact that it still keep the same concepts, the same like controls from GarageBand, and you could just transition over. So it wasn't that big of a learning curve.
Nah, there was just extra features. You know what I'm saying? Things you couldn't do in GarageBand, you now could do in Logic. You know what I mean?
Right.
I was listening to some of your music that you have on Spotify, man, and you know your sound is like a soulful sound. How do you feel like as an artist, as a producer, you found your sound?
It kind of, well, growing up in, for those who don't know, I grew up in a small town in Mississippi. I'm from Utica, Mississippi. And you know, with Mississippi, it's a big melting pot when it comes to music. And so I would say that, number one, just living in Mississippi all my life, and you listen to different sounds of music, it kind of was curating itself. And I grew up in a musical house. I grew up in a house where music was constantly being played in rotation. My mom was very like soulful R&B, you know, the Anita Baker, the Luther Vandrosses of the world.
The classics, the real stuff.
My dad was funk.
Mm-hmm.
My daddy was Parliament. Like, listen, I guarantee you, when I walk in the house, you're gonna hear him play. You're gonna hear him play Mothership Connection.
They don't
Like,
know nothing about that, bro.
oh man, if you hear any noise, it's just me and the boys. So my dad was into like funk. My older brother was my introduction into hip hop, actually.
Okay.
And
How so? How did that go about?
Finesse.
Well, growing up, I used to always think it was cool to ride with my brother around everywhere, cause I'm the baby brother.
Okay.
And I remember he used to have an old Hyundai Elantra, white Elantra, and it's gonna show my age a little bit, but I still remember when they used to have the big old CD books that you flap the pages in.
I remember those too, bro. Some people had the album inserts behind the CD, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So which one is what?
Right. And I just remember him just playing different artists and we would just ride around and just vibe to it. Like, when I think back to it, I think about the last Mr. Big,
Finesse.
like A-Ball, MJG,
Wow.
Snoop Dogg, like just Master P, like, and there's so many other like OGs that I just grew up listening to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the more as I start, just riding with them, I think I start falling in love with hip hop. And last but not least, my little sister, she was more into the pop. She was more into pop. Like the NSYNCs, the Backstreet Boys.
Okay.
Like B2K. All.
So you
like,
kind of had to tolerate it because of her.
Yeah, I had to. I had to a little bit.
I feel it.
But
as we start staring at something, or we listening to something, we start to dissect it and pick out all the things we do like from it, or if we pessimistic, we pick out what we don't like, it what we want to stay far away from. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Either way, depending on where you at, you could learn from it.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, because it's so, and I guess it's a blessing, because it's so much music out and so many different flavors and different genres that it's hard to not be inspired.
Yeah, it is, man. There's so much going on right now.
It is. It really is. And it's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, 100%. What is your process like when you're working on an album?
Man, when I'm working on an album, the biggest thing I do first is I try to.
Finesse, baby.
Well, let me backtrack. It's two things I'm always do. Number one, I'm gonna pray. I'm gonna pray first. And the one thing I always ask God is just whatever direction and sound that you want me to create. Just guide my steps to make the best sound. So that's number one. Number two, after I do that, then I'm going, like I said, then I kind of just, do my, cause I feel like I'm very old school in a sense. Like I'm a student of the game. So I'm big on, like, if it's a sound that I'm looking for, I'm gonna try to dig through the crates and listen to similar sounds and kind of get a sense of the direction. Just trying to get an idea of what the sound I want to go with. And once I get that, then I'm going to, I'm gonna try to figure out how many songs I want to, like, how many songs do I need to get what I want out? So I try to get all the minor details out the way first. That way, when the music's actually being made, I don't have to worry about it.
Everything just comes naturally.
I feel like if you try to do stuff, but you haven't put a technical detail into it, it sure you can make the music, but it may not flow as smooth as you would like.
100%. I agree.
And so once I get the intricate details out, then
Finesse, baby.
once I get that, then I'm just working on just working, like just playing with the sounds and just see, okay, this sound like I can use, or I'll have a beat that I probably made a few years ago and I'll be like, okay, I can use for this.
Yep. Yeah, because
And
when you listen to music, sometimes you'll go to an old track or something that you've done that maybe you haven't picked up in a while, and at the time you pick it up and you like, man, this is perfect for exactly what I'm working on right now. You know what I mean?
it is, and
Especially if you got a vault.
Right, because sometimes, and one thing I would tell people is that sometimes what people don't know is that some of the beats that I've used for different projects, those were beats that I've made and I forgot about them.
Finesse.
So it's like you said, when you have that vault, it's good it's a good problem to have. And
I agree.
And I think, and honestly, like I said, for me, once I get the details, like the intricate stuff out, then I just start, experimenting and just working on the music and just seeing what works, and then just start, and pretty much it kind of just flows into itself.
Nah, I dig that. Any books that you're reading that changed your life?
Man, that's a lot of books you asked me for. Okay, yes. Three books that really helped me out as a producer. One of my all-time favorite books is The Art of War. And that book has really been a big help, because in the book it's big on strategy. It's big on strategy, and it's big on moving accordingly and navigating things accordingly so that you can maintain peace.
Absolutely. Because if you're not intentionally doing things to keep yourself sane, to keep your peace, you know what I'm saying, you're gonna be living in worldly behavior. You know what I mean? You're gonna be letting the world move you instead of doing what God put you here for. Absolutely.
And that's something, and I think for me, that was something that was always important, because what's that old phrase they used to always say? If you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail.
Yep.
Like that's a real thing. So I've been really big on like The Art of War. It just kind of helped me just to come home with the idea of have a plan, know the ins and outs of your plan, and understand that plans change, but you can adapt.
Yep.
But
when you make plans, God laughs.
Exactly. And that's just the God honest truth.
Yep.
And
100%.
so I would say The Art of War, number one. Number two, I would have to say, and look, go ahead and put me down as one of the many other people in the music industry that have read this book, but I like it. The 48 Laws of Power.
Yeah, that's a great book.
It is. And I think honestly, when you read that book, I can see why so many people really rock with that book, and they implement principles in that book.
I mean, depending on who you are, you can pull so many different things from it. You know what I mean? It's kind of
Absolutely.
like, you know, to each his own. In the eye of the beholder, that's what it is. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And like I said, when it comes and I agree because with a book like that, I always think it's really cool that they give, like, it's so many principles that they apply in different settings. And it helps you, and it really does help you, because at the end of the day, I always think it's important that you educate yourself so that you can navigate your path as fluid as you can.
Yeah.
So those would be my 2 books.
Okay. 100%. What sacrifices do you feel like you made to get where you are right now?
The biggest, I would say, sacrifices. I would say, I think just putting in the time, like putting in the time to really learn the craft, learn and ask yourself questions like, why are you doing this? Like, what are you doing this for? Because I think for any newcomer of anything you're doing, that's always gonna be the toughest thing.
Finesse, baby.
Like, just figuring out and just getting started.
I feel like it takes a lot of wisdom to be able to know your why, or to even search for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
Some people, you know, can't even start, like you said. But when you're doing it and you know your why, it's a lot different. You have different goals. You speak differently. You're talking to your community. You're not looking for acceptance. You're looking for your community to be inspired. You're looking for your community to take action. You know what I'm saying? It's an unapologetic way of moving. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Because I think, and honestly, I think too, it's a matter of perspective too. Because honestly, I don't think it's a sacrifice, but I do think that there are things that you have to do. And like I said, the first thing I had to do was just make up in my mind, like, hey, this is what I'm going to do. Why, and establishing, like I said, establish that why.
100%.
Because I think, honestly, if you don't establish your why, you don't last long.
What do you feel like made you establish your why? What made you sit down and be like, why am I doing this?
Well, I would say, the why, you know what? I'll say it like this. When it comes to the why, it was interchangeable. Because remember, I got into making music because I was coping with my grandmother's passing.
Finesse, baby.
And it started with that. And over time, I had to be mindful also that I grew up around music. Like I fell in love with music as a kid. So then the why transitioned into, like, I remember as a kid, I used to listen to, like, I still remember having the CD players. I still remember having the Walkmans. And so then the why became like, hey, I'm making music for my inner child. So it became that. I think the moment that it became that, I think the rest of it kind of flowed naturally. I'm making music that I would have loved to listen to while in the process, I'm making music representing where I'm from, because a lot of people don't know about Mississippi. They don't even know about Utica in Mississippi. So I look at those moments like that, and when I make music, I'm making music to introduce people to what made me.
That's deep. How did you get your name?
Okay. So TG-18. So TG is my initials. TG is my initials, and 18 represents the street that I grew up on.
Wow.
So when you put them together, TG-18 it comes off like a movie rate, and it sounded cool. And
That's dope.
And the spaceman part, it kind of came into life of its own, because when I first started making music, I used to have like a bomber jacket.
Uh-huh.
I used to have a bomber jacket, and I used to have an astronaut helmet. And in the very beginning, people was calling me Spaceman, and people started calling me Spaceman.
Were you wearing that to perform or something?
When it came to like when I used to go to beat battles, yes. So when I used to do beat battles, I used to have that helmet on.
Okay.
And people were calling me Spaceman, and I was kind of like, TG-18 the Spaceman. And like I said, it just kind of came together.
That's dope, man. How do you deal with creative block if you ever face that?
Oh, I face them all the time.
Don't we all?
But you know what? I think if you, whether you're a producer, singer, rapper, if you're gonna go through those blocks. And for me, what helps me out a lot is when I have those moments like that, I just get away from the computer. I get away from the beat machine. I get away from the computer, and I just listen to music.
Finesse.
I just listen to music. I would listen to music like I would do before I even started making music in the first place. And just let the inspiration come back when
that
it
kid
does.
you was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Nah, I feel it, bro.
Because, bro, and I'll be honest, because when I first went through it as a producer, I'll be honest, I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
It kind of took me off guard by surprise, and it beat me down a few times.
It's something that, you know what I mean, unless you're aware about it and you got other people around you, you don't really know it exists. You know what I'm saying? Jumping into being a creator, you know what I'm saying? Like, you think it's all fun and games. Like, I'm supposed to be happy all the time making like this type of music because this is what people like from me. You know what I mean? But that's not the way it works. You know what I mean? At least when you're an original artist and you're not going after like a certain sound because it's trendy. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have the longevity. We have something in our mind to where it's like, that's us. That's our identity. That's our sound. You know what I mean? Like you said, it's more resonating with your hometown. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Down to your name having the street name in it.
Right. And you know, I think the moment I developed that awareness, that's when it was like, okay, I'm having a creative block, but this doesn't mean that this is the end of the world. It's just I just have to get back to where it all started.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to learn to navigate it, man. When you see the signs and you see that it's being forced, you got to take a step back. You got to go live life a little bit.
And absolutely, because Because I think at the end of the day, when you really realize and you really think about it, that's what music is all about.
Yep.
Music is taking experiences that has been done, and you just putting a soundtrack behind it.
Yep. And then other people are taking those compositions that you made and they're making memories to that. So it's like an ever-changing cycle to where it's just a whole bunch of experiences.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Different people connect to different things for different reasons. So, you know, your music being soulful, I connect to it just off rip because, like, you know, it connects to me because I listen to like 70s music, 70s soul. So when I hear that pianos like that, I'm like, oh man, I already know this is epic. You know what I mean? I already know what's about to go down.
Finesse, baby.
Man, I appreciate you, man.
No doubt.
I really do appreciate that.
Who would you say is your top inspiration as a producer?
Oh, okay. Are we talking producers or
Yeah, just a
speaking?
producer. Just a producer.
Okay, I got you. Okay, I would say I'm gonna say a few national names, and I'm gonna say a few names known in Mississippi. I would say on a national scale, I'll be honest, like I was a big DJ Quick fan. I was a DJ Quick was my guy. Like him as a producer, I would say DJ Quick. I would say The Alchemist, Knife Wonder, Dilla. I would say they were a big influence. Pete Rock.
That's a big one.
Like cats like those, they definitely played like a big role in just like from a producer standpoint. And now in Mississippi, some of the people that influenced me was, I say David Banner was one. I would say Reese and Bigelow. And if you don't know, you know that song Bone Crusher made, Never Scared?
Yeah.
They was the originators of that song.
Wow.
So Reese and Bigelow, and the last person I would say is a producer. Like he's a good friend of mine. He goes by Fifth Child. Okay. And he's one of the guys that I've been learning the ins and outs of producing.
Okay. That's fine.
And he's been a big focal point of my development.
That's what's up, man. It's always dope when somebody could kind of show you the ropes, help you skip some steps. You know, I try to do that and pay it forward where I can. You know what I mean? If I notice that I can help an artist and, you know, help them skip some steps, save some time, you know, I know how valuable it is. So I try to pay it forward. Walk us through your create. Yeah, go ahead, bro.
Well, I was gonna say, man, that it really makes a world of difference and I think that's how you multiply your blessings when you're passing everything forward.
Yeah, you got to, bro. Walk us through your process when you're creating something new. Do you have any like rituals, habits, or environments that help you get into the zone?
Okay. Well, so when I'm creating something new, one of the things, fun fact, is that I carry my studio equipment in my backpack.
When you're at the fire station?
Well, now at the fire station, or if I'm just out and about.
That's fire.
I always carry. Now that's one thing I will do, because you just never know where the inspiration can kick in So sometimes you may have to, when you catch it, you may have to, just start something. Just start it.
Finesse.
What piece of gear do you particularly bring with you?
My laptop and my MIDI keyboard.
Okay. Which one is that? Which one do you have?
And I'm going, Lord, and I Lord forgive me if I mess up this name. but it's an NPC.
Okay. That's what's up.
Look, in my mind I was kind of like, I was looking at it and I went blank for a second. I was like, ooh.
Nah, I feel it, man. Shout out to Kai, man.
Exactly. Matter of fact, my girlfriend bought me this new one last Christmas.
Wow.
And it's beautiful. And shout out to my girlfriend. She's an artist too. She's a singer.
Mm-hmm.
Her name Flower Child. She's an R&B artist.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get her on the show, man.
Definitely. So my MIDI keyboard and my laptop, and those are my go-tos every single time in my backpack.
That's what's up, bro. Yeah, it's dope when you can actually, carry it around with you. When your workflow, isn't a lot to it, you could definitely, just put it in a backpack and just bring it everywhere.
Yeah, and honestly, I tell you, like a lot of beats that I've made them in random places. Like, because like I said, you never know when inspiration kicks in anywhere.
I bet sometimes you're listening to some of the beats that you made in like random spots, and you kind of like have flashbacks, like remembering those times, those moments. Like, what are some of the places that you remember that you've made beats in that kind of stick out to you?
Okay, good question. All right. Okay, I got two good examples. You all right? So you remember we were talking about Morning Sun a few days ago? What if I told you I made 95% of Morning Sun at the fire station in my bedroom?
That's crazy.
The only thing I had to do was to get actually play the actual bass guitar at my parents' house.
Yeah.
But
hey, you should definitely make some content of you making beats in the fire station. I feel like that shit will go viral, bro. For real. I don't know if it's allowed, but I think that would be dope, bro.
As long as we're not, on call, as long as we're not on call and we knocked out our duties and stuff for the day, they pretty much don't mind it.
That's what's up.
But yeah, like that. But Morning Sun was made in the fire station, and I was just in the bed.
That's crazy.
And
that's dope, man.
So I'd have made music at the fire station. I'd have made music at my parents' house. I'd have made beats in my house. Just
wherever it strikes.
Yeah, like whatever. Yeah, honestly, whatever it's striking. I think that's the beauty of it.
100%, bro. What is some advice you would tell your younger self when first starting out? Maybe you can give some gems to people that's first starting out. Maybe help them skip some steps.
The biggest thing if I would tell my younger self when I first started this something, the biggest thing I would tell them was keep going. Keep going. Understand that you're gonna be nervous. You're gonna be nervous a lot of times. You're gonna experience people, rocking with your music in one instance, and they might not be feeling it the next. But don't get caught up in the validation. Don't get caught up in validation. Don't. You're not trying to prove nothing to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, you should prove to yourself that you're wanting to make the best music that you can from a genuine place.
I feel like that's where the best music is created, because it's not forced. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And I say that too because I'll admit that was something I had to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Coming from a small town, coming from, you know, that chip on your shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you know, it's Utica versus the world at once upon a time. And one thing that my girlfriend always emphasized to me, and I appreciate her for telling me this, was that she always just ask me, like, when you make this, who are you making it for?